Hello, this is Sonia here with the Sci-fi Adventures Channel, and I am really happy to be back with more of Time Tracks, and we are now on Chapter 12, which I decided to title Repairing the Timeline. So I'm going to go ahead and get right back to the story. As TC and the Time Bandit continued to wrestle, Sophia waved frantically at Friedrich to get his attention, and then motioned for him, as well as Daniel and Spencer, to join her a slight distance away from the open time portal. Candace did not seem to take much notice of Sophia's gesturing for the others to join her, as her eyes stayed glued to the two figures still wrestling furiously. Friedrich, Daniel, and Spencer, however, responded immediately and ran over to Sophia. As they all gathered around her in a conspiratorial huddle, Sophia hurried to explain, knowing that T.C. Shirley could not keep up his distraction for very much longer. Friedrich nodded energetically in agreement as Sophia shared her idea with them. Since the time portal was now open, she reasoned that this was the opportunity they had been waiting for to repair the breaches in their timeline. Straining against the wind, Friedrich quickly threw down his briefcase, and with shaking hands, he opened the latch and withdrew all three rift locators. Sophia, Daniel, and Spencer rushed in to pick them up as Friedrich hurriedly gathered up his briefcase from the ground. Feeling the press of time and instinctively knowing what to do, Sophia waved at Daniel and Spencer to follow her back to the open time portal. The wind was continuing to blow fiercely at them as Daniel and Spencer pushed on after Sophia, who was already holding her rift locator with her arms slightly stretched upward and in front of her as she ran. Daniel and Spencer followed suit, and soon they were all three standing, each with their rift locator aimed at different points along the perimeter of the portal. They had not planned this out at all, but the rift locators had apparently drawn each of them like magnets to where the breaches were. As soon as the Time Bandit saw this, he abruptly stopped wrestling with TC and let out a loud screech of protest. "No, this is not possible. How do you have all three of the rift locators? Candace, hurry and do something. We must stop them." The Time Bandit lunged frantically forward, but TC held him back as he shouted out instructions to Sophia, Spencer, and Daniel. "Great work, everyone. Now all you need to do to activate the rift locators is to press down firmly at the base of the device, and no matter what, hold on tight until the power stream stops on its own." Sophia was shaking as she nodded and settled her grip more fully at the base of the device. She had to will herself to stay focused as the Time Bandit once again attempted to forcibly maneuver past TC, and when he was once again unsuccessful, he shouted out in fury at Candace, "I gave you a direct order. Stop them." Candace's big brown eyes were now fastened on Daniel, and she looked surprisingly helpless, as though she were a deer caught in the headlights. And as she stood frozen and gazing pleadingly at Daniel, she finally spoke. I can't. I won't. I love him." The Time Bandit's eyes whirled in rage. "You stupid girl, you are ruining everything." Sophia drew in a sharp breath as she understood even more fully in that moment that one of the irreversible changes to their timeline, and especially for her and Daniel, was that Candace clearly needed Daniel now more than she did. Taking a deep breath, Sophia pushed back the pain of that realization and gathered her strength to shout out, "Come on, Daniel and Spencer. Let's do this on the count of 3. Sophia counted to 3 and pressed with all her might on the base of the rift locator. A force of energy nearly threw her backwards as a steady stream of what looked like white electricity shot out of the rift locator. Remembering TC's instruction, Sophia focused hard on keeping her grip on the device until the power stream finally stopped and the size of the opened portal began to rapidly diminish. With a loud shriek of rage, the Time Bandit pushed his way roughly and wildly past TC, who did not stop him this time, and they all watched as the Time Bandit jumped head first through the portal just before it closed completely. Weak with relief, Sophia glanced over at Daniel and Spencer, who were both looking quite relieved, as TC rushed over to Sophia and gave her a congratulatory hug. "You did great, Miss Sophia. I knew you could do it." Although TC's enthusiasm was contagious, she was still struggling a bit to believe it was really over. "Do you think the Time Bandit will try to come back here again, TC?" TC's expression sobered at her question. "Well, Miss Sophia, I cannot say for certain that he will not try again in the future. But I can assure you that Friedrich and I are going to do all that we can to keep this timeline secure." As soon as Friedrich heard his name, he came over to them, and Sophia was glad to see the scientist looking much more relaxed and quite like his old self again. Daniel and Spencer joined them as well, and Sophia noted with relief that they, like herself, also seemed to be recovering quickly. Candace, however, was hanging back a short distance from the group, and Sophia gave Daniel a gentle nudge. "Do you think you could find it in your heart to forgive Candace?" At the mention of Candace's name, Daniel glanced pointedly over in her direction and frowned. "I have to be honest, Sophia, I do not really want to forgive her. But then I remember how you forgave me for what I did to you." Spencer, Friedrich, and TC all remained respectfully silent as Sophia responded. "This has been really hard on both of us, Daniel, but it's clear to me now that Candace really does care about you, in spite of what she has done. And who knows what she has risked in choosing to stay here with us, and really, she chose to stay here with you." Wanting to give them some privacy then, TC took the initiative, and after patting Sophia reassuringly on the shoulder, he motioned for Spencer and Friedrich to follow him as he made his way back over to Candace. Sophia noticed then, and was encouraged to see Candace's countenance brighten a little as they approached. When the others were out of earshot, Sophia turned her full attention back to Daniel, who now had a clearly grief-stricken expression on his face. "I just cannot believe how badly I messed everything up for us, Sophia, and now Candace is here." His voice broke slightly, and Sophia suddenly found herself grief-stricken as well, and she had to push back a fresh wave of pain before speaking. "I know you love me, Daniel, and I will always love you too, but I think we have to face that even though we have repaired it, our timeline has still been changed." Daniel glanced over at Candace again, who was appearing more comfortable and at ease now, as TC, Spencer, and Friedrich stood talking to her. When Daniel's gaze returned fully back to Sophia, she caught her breath at the sharp pain in his blue eyes. I will love you forever, Sophia. Please, I need you to believe that, or I do not think I can go through with what I feel I must do. Tears began to well up suddenly and fully in Sophia's eyes as she realized he was saying goodbye. What is it that you feel you must do now, Daniel? Sophia feared her knees might buckle as she anxiously braced herself to hear more. I know now that Candace was sent to try and trick me into joining the Time Bandits' army, but that has got me thinking. If the bad guys have an army, surely the good guys must have one too. Sophia thought about this for a moment. Surely TC would know if such an army exists. And are you saying you would want to join it if it does? Daniel nodded in the affirmative. I think so, and I've decided to do all that I can to help stop this time bandit from messing up other people's lives. That is why I've decided to ask TC about what I can do to help. But I did want to talk to you first before I did that because, Sophia, if I thought for even a moment we could go back to what we had. Sophia was prouder of Daniel in that moment than she thought possible, and she choked back a sob, wishing momentarily herself that there might be a way for her and Daniel to still be together. But in her heart of hearts, she knew that it was now Daniel's turn to answer his call. I cannot deny that a part of me wishes it was just you and me again, Daniel, but things have changed, and I think you have something amazing and important to do now, and I have completed my mission with TC. I already am feeling drawn to see my parents again, although I have no idea how I'll be able to tell them about all of this, but I want them to know. I need them to know, really. After that, well, I'm just not sure yet, but I feel we all have a real chance now that our timeline has been repaired and the time bandit is gone. Daniel nodded solemnly. I think I understand. You are more at peace now, and I have become restless. Just knowing this time bandit is out there somewhere plotting to trick people into joining him and hijacking timelines and whatever else he is doing. Well, you're right, Sophia. I feel a call, as you put it. It's kind of like a magnetic pull. Sophia nodded vigorously in agreement. I know that feeling well. It took me by surprise when it happened to me, too. She stopped here a moment, suddenly overcome by emotion. I just want to be sure to tell you while I can how very proud I am of you, Daniel. And wherever the future takes you, I know it will be great. Without a word, Daniel drew her in close and held her in a tight embrace. Please, Sophia, whatever happens with you and Spencer, I just want you to know that I'm okay with it. I can see now that Spencer is a good person. Sophia started to protest, but Daniel gently pressed a finger to her lips to quiet her. One more thing, Sophia. I hope you will keep the ring. Tears welled up in Sophia's eyes as she answered, I will keep it, Daniel. And that ends chapter 12, repairing the timeline. So they have successfully repaired it. I hope you're enjoying the story so far, and we are getting closer to the end, but we're not there quite yet. So I look forward to being back with you soon with the next chapter of Time Tracks. And until then, thank you as always for joining me.